Hey, sports fans, welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty Scott Mitchell. So glad you could join us. Fun show today, as always. Look forward to what we're going to talk about, and so glad you could be a part of it. Hope you're having a great day today. It is a wonderful day in sports, as it always is. A lot to cover. A lot of things are heating up, as is the temperature. So we heat up, sports heats up, everything heats up, and off we go. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. It's time to get, down and dirty, which we really love. Going to start the show off with some great hot headlines here. Of course, none other hot headline is greater than the Utah Mammoth actually winning their very first playoff game. Yes, I said it, that they are in Las Vegas. What goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. And of course, the hopefully, well, the Mammoth aren't staying in Vegas. They're coming home, and they're coming home with a series tied up at 1-1. Great game, really fun to watch. And, the Utah Mammoth almost looked better than the Vegas Knights. We'll see if that holds serve as we continue with the playoffs. But man, it was such an exciting thing for the Utah Mammoth. And what was cool about it was it's so fun when a team pulls a goalie, right? And they pull a goalie, and you just go, okay, that's cool. And they they kind of learned from their first game where they were like, we kind of let off on the gas, and you could kind of feel it. You're just like, that first game, it's like they went up 2-1, and they're up 2-1, and then all of a sudden they lose 4-2. And it's just so fascinating where these teams, they just say, no, we're gonna just keep pouring it on. And the Jazz pouring it on. The Jazz are pouring it out, man. That's ridiculous. But anyways, the Mammoth just, they just kept hanging tight, and it was just awesome to watch them play and to watch them grow as a team. And they're fast. They got some guys. They got some guys that can kind of make some things happen. So see what happens with that series as it moves forward. But that was a big deal, and it's one of the things that's also fun to watch about the Utah Mammoth is it's like everything's first. There's just you just want to cheer for a team like this because you're starting to get a fan base. You love that you might start to get some crazy rivalries going on. In this might, it's things like this where they win in Vegas, and all of a sudden, maybe they win the series, and it just puts a little sting in the Vegas Golden Knights. And of course they have won a Stanley Cup, and it's a very similar thing where the folks in Las Vegas, boy, they just embraced the Golden Knights, and now that's happening in Utah. So hockey's just fun. It's just great to watch. And I'm just telling you, when the goalie gets pulled, and they pulled him like with a couple of minutes, called a timeout, and then it was just like, if that puck gets out of here. And of course they had a breakaway, and the defenseman for the Vegas Knights was the goalie, and he gets a save. And so in fact it was Logan Cooley, I believe, who was on the breakaway, who actually scored the go-ahead goal for the Mammoth. But he had an easy semi-open net opportunity, and the defenseman stoned him. But good for the Mammoth, good for hockey, good for everyone in the state of Utah. So very exciting. First win for the Mammoth. We love that. Okay, other things going on. We got to talk about this because this is crazy. So the Colorado Avalanche's fans actually break the glass right behind the coach's bench, and this is not at the end. This is kind of right in the middle of this game. I don't know. I think we have some footage of it here, but it's just oh boy, it's like I didn't know. 'Cause I always thought the glass was actually not glass, and maybe behind the maybe behind the bench it is. It feels like it's kind of like plexiglass, like it's unbreakable glass. It's something, and this fan is just rocking the glass, and he's kind of giving it to the visiting team there, and it's I think it's the LA Kings bench, and so and then all of a sudden it just shatters all over the coaches, and it always reminds me in these situations. I always go back, and maybe it was a traumatic moment for me in my life, but early on in my career with the Miami Dolphins, we lose in the AFC. We lost the regular season finale, and then we played them in the. I don't think it was the championship game, but it might have been the second round, and so we have to go back to Buffalo. So we play them like twice in the 2 or 3 week span, and they were just horrible. That like the buses couldn't get out of the stadium. And what had happened is the Dolphins had beaten the Buffalo Bills, I think, for 15 straight um, like games or 15 straight years. Like they hadn't lost to Buffalo in forever, and it was kind of the first time it had happened in a long time. And of course, that was the early 90s when the Bills go to 4 straight Super Bowls, and that was the first year that they went. They lost in the wide right kick, to the Giants. But, it was the fans. The fans after the game would not let our team leave. Like, we were stuck, right? So you watch it if you've watched this thing, the fan just shatters the glass. It's just crazy, and so, it was very similar situation, and where our buses were the fans basically had us pinned in. Like, it's just pinned in. And I think it's one of those things where we're kind of on the edge of, like, chaos in our society. Like, if the mob rules, and if the mob decided to rule, like, I don't think there's any stopping it. They had 200 police officers on horses in Ralph Wilson Stadium, and the and the fans just rushed the field, and they did nothing. The 200 horse police officers basically just stood on their horses, and I think they smiled because they're all Buffalo Bills fans. They're like, yeah, come on the field, let's go. The fans rule, mob rules, and we're right on the edge of chaos in our world today. And if we I'm just surprised more of this doesn't happen, because, I just don't see how you can't control the mob. Like, you just can't do it. So, okay, moving on. More headlines here. Some NBA, of course, playoff, and VJ Edgecombe becomes the first, player, actually, rookie anyways. He scores, 30 points, has 10 rebounds in a playoff game, and he ties that series up with the Celtics, at a game apiece. And it's kind of funny because you look at some of these teams and you just go, "Well, Boston's gonna hand it to Philadelphia," and here we are. And then, and I really like, VJ. I think he of course he was one of the top picks in the draft. I think he's going to be a great player in the NBA. And you see these guys when they get in the playoffs, and they're just kind of, it's not more than them. Logan Cooley, of course, with the Utah Mammoth, same thing. He's a young guy, and they just like, yeah, I love this. I love the playoffs. I love the atmosphere. And of course, we love to see when these young players actually show up. So, a lot of competitive series in really both of the NBA and of course, NHL, and guess who wins? We do. The fans win, and you love to see that. Now, speaking of a great player, of course, Victor Wembanyama got a concussion apparently in their loss, and they looked like they were going to kind of have this dominating series with the um, with Portland, and boy, he went down hard. I mean, you can see. I mean, you just that's not funny. Just right flat face, bam. Oh yeah, he took one on the chin there, and that's kind of odd. You don't necessarily see basketball players. They don't get concussions often, and so just but they do. I mean, you're just vulnerable in those situations, and not a good look, for Victor, not a good look for the Spurs, because they're a team that really looked and looks to make a splash in the playoffs this year. We'll see how that goes. There is some time, but still, concussions can take some time and really have an impact. Now, the other team, I'm probably gonna get my Utah Jazz card, like, taken, um, and I don't know why I'm having this soft spot for the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't know why. I don't it makes no sense to me. I'm not a Laker fan. I hate the Lakers. I really do. It's weird. I think in life you get older and you just I don't know, maybe you just look at things a little bit different, but there's something about, just kind of, I guess, life, everything that's going on, and the Los Angeles Lakers, I'm kinda pulling for them. And you got Luka on the sideline giving a clap, and of course, maybe it's that I just don't really care for Kevin Durant. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But boy, the Lakers are up 2-0 on, of course, the Phoenix Suns or not the Suns, the Rockets, but, it's actually the Rockets. See, here's the thing, because there is a real rivalry between the Jazz and the Rockets, and it's kinda been one of those things forever. So maybe I just subconsciously just like one of these teams a little bit less than the other one. Regardless, there's just something about the Lakers this year that feels like, they're gonna have, they're gonna go all the way. I don't know, it's a long I mean, the playoffs long, and you just get old like LeBron, and you just go, "Hmm." Now, if the Lakers do well in the playoffs and make a run, maybe I just don't see them winning a championship, but maybe who knows? I mean, LeBron, Luca, like, and everything else they got going on right now, it's like one of those things when you get someone injured and you go, "Oh, man, we got a guy injured," and then it's just giving the other guys an opportunity to play, get minutes, and get experience, and get confidence, and it makes you a deeper team. A lot of times when because then the player comes back from the injury, and you just, you kinda it's the silver lining. It's kinda you kinda cheat out of it a little bit, but, regardless, and I don't know, do we know when Luka's coming back, or maybe we don't? I have no idea. Okay, moving on. This is this is an interesting thing. So Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, of course, was named the NBA Clutch Player of the Year. And I'm not sure exactly what like, it's every time he shot a basket in a game-winning situation, he had the highest percentage of. I really don't know what that award means. I didn't even know that they had that award. It almost feels like that's an award where, let's just make up an award because we feel kinda sorry. It's like we gotta give everyone some kind of trophy, some kind of adulation. So we're gonna give the clutch player of the year. And it's like, why do you give out the clutch player of the year before the playoffs start? Like, why wouldn't it make more sense if you actually said, "No, no, 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 we're gonna hold off on this one," and, maybe it's the clutch player of the playoffs, because that's when it really matters. Because it's like no one cares about they don't care about the regular season. The regular season is just a long, 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 um, experience in futility. A lot of times the best team, I think there was a statistic where the best team in the NBA, I'm making this up as I go along, so I'm not even gonna it just seems like a lot of the time that the team with the best record doesn't win. Now there are times, where you have those teams just dominant from day 1 to end of season period, boom, they are the best. You think of the Bulls, what I think they won 73 games or something like that in the season, which is just incredible. Like, and then of course they won a championship. But a lot of times it doesn't happen that way. A lot of times a higher seed team, a team with more wins, doesn't win in the playoffs. And so, it's that it just needs to be that clutch player when it counts. And it doesn't feel like the regular season is one of those situations. So, but it does bring to my mind this thought of, like what is a clutch player, and like, who is who's the, like, all-time clutch player, of forever? And I don't know who that is. Um, well, come on, we all know who it is. We all know who the clutch of all clutches, and that's just MJ, right? And I think I don't know, I don't and maybe, because you hear these, there was this commercial, like, "I've missed more shots to win games than I have, uh, games to win," and I guess that's true. I guess it's, this faux, humility kinda thing going on. I guess it creates drama for the effect of the commercial they're trying to, portray, or the thought, the message they're trying to get out. All I know is I can go through a whole list of Michael Jordan clutch moments where the game's on the line. Um, it's a big moment. The bigger the moment, the better. I mean, Michael Jordan's biggest moment ever, it's like, talk about a mic drop, a mic as in Mike Jordan. Yeah, I see that one. A mic drop moment, for Michael Jordan, ending his career, winning, his 6th championship and not losing ever. Do you get more clutch than that? Do you get more clutch than, I mean, take Tom Brady in, the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons. They're down 28-3, I believe was the score, and every possible thing that needed to go right did. Like, they were down to the very last seconds of the game to just to score, to come back and tie the game. And had there been any more time run off the clock, had Atlanta found a first down, just found anything in the second half, it doesn't happen. But is Tom Brady the greatest clutch performer? I mean, here's a guy who won 7 Super Bowls and just time after time, or was he really ever, I mean, there was that comeback, but were his Super Bowls comebacks often? It's like you don't remember, you just remember he won 7. You don't necessarily want, it goes, "Oh, wow," but, you know, there wasn't the dramatic flair like with Jordan. It's like Michael Jordan is hanging in the air shooting a jump shot, his tongue's hanging out, and maybe he kicks his ankle out or something in midair just to give it a little bit more effect, something like that. And it never looks contrived, everything just looks, just automatic. I remember one time with Jordan when he drove down the lane, and it looked like it's like just slam dunked the basketball, right? And he does this kinda, loop de loop thing and goes up and under the basket and makes the shot like 10 times more difficult. And I think he was actually, someone commented about it later, and he said, "I just felt like that guy might have blocked it." And so I just was like, just a little bit more sure. Regardless, it's just a lot of flair. There's not a lot of flair to Tom Brady in his wins, but is he the clutch guy? I mean, Montana, Elway in his drives. I mean, like, they've had these clutch moments, and of course, it's always in the big moment. But the regular season clutch player of the year, it's like, I don't know if I put that trophy on my shelf. I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't know, but it's certainly, a fascinating thing to kind of dive in. And I think of Larry Legend. I love Larry Bird. I don't know why, I just love Larry Bird. And it's like if you had a shot, in basketball, who do you take? Do you take Jordan? You take Bird? Like, who is the guy who, or do you take a Steph Curry, or is it Magic? Or is it Kobe? Is it, is it LeBron? Who is that player that you just go, "If I have one shot," and do not miss your shot. You got one shot. Uh, d d who do you take? Who's gonna make it? Who is the most clutch player of all time? I don't know that I have the answer, but, anyways, I'd be interested to dive a little deeper in that one at one point. Okay, I have to mention this. This might go on all year. The New York Mets. Again, they're Metropolitans, right? It's not Mets, and that's the problem. Mets, it's like, what is a metropolitan? We are the upper crust. We are very, refined. We have galas. We have Met galas. We have museums. We do a lot of philanthropic work, And one of those things is we give away victories. Yeah, that's how we to the lesser teams, our opponents, we just give away games, like 12 in a row. The Mets, they lost again. And now here's what's gonna happen, okay? I feel very sorry. I mean, we talked about mob rule and how the mob rules and they're breaking glass, with the Avs and the Kings, and the Mets fans are they're just gonna lose their ever living minds. They're done. They're just gonna be like, we've had it. I don't know if you remember. Actually, the Mets Shea Stadium, was it Shea Stadium? Might have been Yankee Stadium. Anyways, it's New York people. They're all the same. It doesn't matter. They basically they killed disco. I don't know if you ever remember this, but they had some kind of concert or some kind of event that was happening after a game, and they went just crazy. The fans did, and they burned. It was a bad look. But they basically were burning disco. They were getting rid of all of the records, the Bee Gees, and all of those '70s disco songs. Saturday Night Fever, the whole thing was being just basically publicly executed. And this is where the Mets fans are. They're on the brink of, like, don't have any kind of after something event at where the Mets. I don't even know where the Mets play these days. I'm going to say Shea Stadium, and people laugh at me. It's like Shea Stadium. That's where they buried Jimmy Hoffa. No, that was actually Giant Stadium. Yeah, long-standing. Speaking of old Giant Stadium, old Bill Parcells apparently opened the gates, um, and it created this wind, like massive wind. So whenever the opposing team was getting ready to kick a field goal, up went these doors at the end of the stadium. Of course, you didn't see them; they were up the tunnel, but it created this like sucking vortice, and that little bit of that gamesmanship. It's fact. Bill Parcells. That's how Belichick learned how to do all his little nifty cheating things that he did. He learned them all from Parcells, or maybe he did them and then Parcells got credit for. I don't know. Anyways, I digress, because this is about the Mets. It's not about Bill Parcells or Belichick or anyone else. It's about the Mets, second highest payroll in Major League Baseball, and they can't win a game. But getting back to my comment, with all of this going on with the Mets right now, they're going to have this massive comeback, and they're going to win the World Series, and they're just going to go on this insane late season surge, and they just take the fans on this massive roller coaster ride and go win a World Series. That's what's going to happen. All right. Speaking of what's happening, Giancarlo Stanton homered, also added a 2-run double, and the Yankees, guess what? They shut out the Red Sox, and the Red Sox are the dead Sox right now. But my guy Jim Fannin, who we love dearly, says no, the Red Sox are don't anyone freak out, don't anyone panic. Well, I'm freaking out. Anyways, we'll see what happens with the Red Sox, and there you have it. Okay, the Cubs, just to kind of round out baseball here for a minute. The Chicago Cubs actually beat the Phillies 7-4, and they have now won 7 in a row. So that's kind of exciting. I know most of us on this program absolutely love the Cubs. Hey, the Cubs win. The Cubs win. That's an exciting thing. All right, that's what we have for our hot headlines. When we come back, NFL news of notes around the corner. Oh boy, Shedeur Sanders, he's in this, and Mike Tomlin is doing something different, and I think Puka is okay. We'll let you know when the Down and Dirty returns in just a minute.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of The Matt Mosley Show. We want you to watch our show every day, 1 to 3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you get to see big name guests like Gary Patterson, Art Briles, Scott Drew, Doug McNamee, major Cowboys insiders, ESPN legends like Sal Palantonio. When news breaks on Cowboys or Baylor or NFL, we want you to look here first. 1 to 3 weekdays. It's the Matt Mosley Show.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Hey, it's Zach Gelb. We're talking NFL and college football. Plus, we have some of the biggest interviews in sports media. You got to check out the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports, weekdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/@Zach Gelb Show.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Down and Dirty. Oh, yeah. We like to give you sports in a way that is kind of real, and it's from a former player's perspective. I'm not polished. I don't give you a lot of fancy words. I just like to give it to you down and dirty the way you like it. You want to know and hear and appreciate your sports the way that they're supposed to be. So we have a great time on the show. We love to get down and dirty. Right now, we love to talk about the NFL because we talk about the NFL every day, and we should. It's our national religion. It is the sport of all sports. It is open 365, 24/7. We are 24 hours-ish away from the NFL draft, and that is an exciting time. It's a horrible time. It's a meaningless time. None of it ever matters. Well, it kind of does. I mean, because you have guys. Like, take a Brock Purdy, for example. Take any of these guys that are drafted late in the draft and have had phenomenal Hall of Fame type of careers, changed their fortunes, their team's fortunes. And then you have the Jets. And the Jets can just never get out of their way. They're always a team picking early. And, of course, their buddies, the New York Giants. The New York Football Giants they got 2 picks in the first round. So this will be fun. But right now, we're going to turn our attention to none other than the most polarizing 5th round draft choice probably in NFL history ever. We spend more time talking about him, and I don't know why we talk about him. We don't sit and talk about other 5th round drafted quarterbacks who weren't even the first 5th round drafted quarterback the team picked. It's all about Shedeur Sanders. It's all about him changing his name. And right now, there's all kinds of love and just a new vibe, a new excitement going on in Cleveland, which is it's kind of down the street around a lake or two from Chicago, but it's it's in the Midwest. Anyways, this is what Shedeur had to say about his new coach, Todd Monken. He says, Coach Monken's great, and all the other coaches on staff are extremely great. Everybody's great right now. They're going to understand and embrace you just as a person. And then they push you each and every day in the meeting room, on the field, in the weight room. It's a new vibe, a new energy. Well, it's all new. It's all exciting until they put real bullets in the gun and the bullets start flying. Of course, everyone's excited and there's a new vibe and there's a new excitement. And it's like, these coaches are like, coach them up. Like, get Shedeur going. Let's go. Let's see what this kid is all about. So fun vibe, fun anything, but it's like April still. So we'll see what happens with Shedeur. We'll see what happens with the whole Cleveland Browns. And they're just a hot mess. They're just another hot mess. They really are. And they have good players. It looks like they have a good situation, but they're in a hot mess because of, nothing short of they're just the quarterback situation. In fact, they're not that far off of a team uh, from being really good. It's almost like they're kind of a poor man's Houston Texans, where they got a really, really good defense, and they just can't quite seem to find themselves offensively for whatever reason. Now they have a former Houston Texan on their team, and Deshaun Watson, and we'll just see what happens there. Quite frankly, I'm cheering for the worst, for the most awkward, for the most, I don't know how the just I want drama. I'm like Jerry Jones, and I just want a little drama. I want drama on my football team because that's what I do. I'm the owner of a football team, and we want drama. So I want drama as much as Jerry Jones wants drama. Anyways, that's what we want. We want to have drama. So I want it to be uncomfortable. I want it to get down and dirty. That's what I want to see from the Cleveland Browns. So always a fun story to watch, and it's just funny to hear these players. It's like, well, yeah, because when a new coach comes in, it's like everyone stands at attention. You don't like the new coach, or you don't know if the new coach likes you, and the reality is the new coach doesn't like you. Like if they have a new coach and you're an old player, you're part of why they have a new coach. So why would they want you around? And even if you're like a good player, they're still like, yeah, but we want to get our people in here, our kinds of people. And a lot of coaches just go cleaning house, cleaning house. But early on, they'll kind of take a look, and they'll just and they kind of look at you through almost a tainted lens, and they look at you in a way that they just go, yeah, I don't know that I really like this guy. I don't know that I trust this guy. I don't know, and it's just not a good thing. So you might think it's okay, and you might think it's exciting, but you might be out the door the next day. Okay, Puka, find the Puka. The best advice I ever got in being trained as a quarterback was to find the Puka, and the Puka in Hawaiian is the hole, the kind of the sweet spot, the pace, the place of like rest, and it's find the Puka. And that's what you do as a quarterback. You got to find the Puka. Now, if a quarterback for the Rams, you find Puka Nakua, and of course Matthew Stafford has found Puka Nakua often, and Puka has been a heck of a player until until recently, until he got to the point where it's like, I'm gonna win the lottery. And Puka was probably should. Based off of his production and where he is, shouldn't he be one of the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL? Is he not Jackson Smith and Jigma money? And it's like, yeah, and yeah, absolutely. And he probably should be. It's not a probably should be. It is. I'm sure he's asking for this, and the Rams are going, oh. Is there maybe the Rams are behind all you conspiracy theorists here? Maybe the Rams are like, maybe they planted this person and they got Puka into trouble, so they wouldn't have to pay him as much. I'm not saying they did. I'm just saying conspiracy theorists think that they did, or possibly they're speculating. Maybe it's possible. I'm not accusing anyone of anything here. I'm just saying that when Puka got ready for his new deal, things got kind of funny. Now, Sean McVay said, no, look, he and I have a great relationship. Okay, by the way, just so you know, when a coach says, we have a great relationship, that means that's like the kiss of death. Like, it means I really can't stand the guy, and we're not on speaking terms at this time. And of course, and we feel really good about the direction that we're going, which means, oh boy, we got to fix this thing right now. I'm just telling you, when a coach comes out and endorses a player and feels like he has to endorse a player, that is not a good thing. It's just not a good thing. I'm sure he wants to feel this way. I'm sure that he does, but and what else are they going to say? Oh, Puka is in the doghouse. What the freak was he thinking? He is, no, no. Everyone wants to basically go, no story here. Move along. Just move along. Nothing's happening. We're fine. You're fine. Don't ask any questions. Don't do anything. Just leave me alone. In fact, uh, um, I like to watch politics and stuff like that, and I'm not going to talk about politics here. But this Ilhan Omar, of course, she went from, yeah, my net worth is somewhere between 6 million and $30 million. And then they say, no, 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 no. Oh, wait, you're gonna look into this? No, my net worth is $95,000. It was a typo. I just hit the wrong comma. I don't know why. There's no issue here. And so someone asked her a question, and she just goes, um, she goes, "I've answered this question. I'm not answering this question again." And the reporter just kept, and she says, "How about I give you Jack Poo Poo? I'm not telling you Jack Poo Poo, right?" And anyway, so I just thought it was a funny answer, and because look, people in public are not gonna. There's a purpose behind the comments. And I just found that comment to be interesting between Sean McVay and Puka Nakua. And I'm sure look, all coaches love players who produce for them and make things happen, and they tolerate everything. Okay. They tolerate everything. And I really wasn't gonna get into this, but I'm gonna get into it because we're gonna get a little down and dirty. This whole Mike Vrabel situation, and and everyone's like, oh, she resigned, but he didn't. Why didn't he resign? And it's about male, female, and all this stuff. And I don't think that's how the NFL works. It's like if you are just really good and because Mike Vrabel, I think about what he did to the Patriots, what he did as a player for the Patriots, and a lot of how do I put this? There probably wouldn't be an NFL if they had to fire everyone for indiscretions. So it's kind of one of those things where, and I think it's really, should a person be fired for this type of behavior? And is it, the question is, well, what does the handbook say? What policies do you have in place as an ownership, as a team, as an organization, if whatever, and so it has nothing to do with, are they male or female, is it this, that, whatever. And so and human life and relationships and all this stuff is complicated business. And it's tough, right? But it's also sweet and wonderful and beautiful. And unfortunately, I think we all want to be in a really wonderful, amazing um opportunity in life. And sometimes, and when it is, it's just absolutely great, but when it isn't, it's not. And so it's complicated, and life gets in the way in the entertainment industry because that's what sports is. And so I think, I really want to defer to um Nick Saban. And I defer to him in the sense of, Mike Vrabel came out and said, "Look, I had some very complicated conversations." And no one wants to get into, well, what is the conversation? What'd you say and who'd you say it to? Why'd you say it? Like, it's just not people's business for all that stuff. It's unfortunate, here's what's unfortunate. You're in a public place doing public things or private things in a public place, and that's dumb. Okay, there's no part of it that's, now you say, well, wait a minute, I should have my own private life and I should be able to do all of this stuff. And the reality is when you're a public figure like that, no. Like, and the reality is anything you do today is going to be found out. Like, it's just there's Big Brother is everywhere, cameras are everywhere. We live in a society where people are like, I want to get on camera. I want to video everything. So you're a fool to think that you're being discreet in any form or any fashion. That's just not happening. So you know that's kind of a dumb thing to do. Now, what getting back to Nick Saban, it's like, you know, and I said this just a minute ago, look, you probably would have most of the NFL, if you know, if we're being down and dirty about this, most of the NFL would have, you know, they probably all get fired, or most of them. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. So, and you still have to have a league, and it is an entertainment business. But Nick Saban said, you know, if I cast off someone for making an error, for sinning in their life, for whatever, you know, who's going to give them another chance? And you know, you know, this ability, and I think there's a difference between, well, we just roll our eyes and we just look the other way, to, you know, maybe not going ballistic and not ending everything, is the best course of action. You know, people make mistakes. People get in situations, and they don't necessarily handle it the very best way. And so, do we just say, off with their head? You know, they're out here. And with one situation, it was like, you know, there was a resignation, and another situation there wasn't. And you know, it just, but you know, Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, has had his, you know, embarrassment and issues, and I'm sure they all could have embarrassing moments or issues, if we are all just kind of digging around. So, um, I think it's just more about, I really don't think it's like, let's just sweep this under the rug and let's just kind of ignore it. And, you know, it's a good old boys club, and it's a male thing and a women thing. I just don't think it's that. What I do think, it's a mess. It's a sad situation, and something that, you know, is unfortunate, that people have to go through in a public fashion. So there you go. I said it. I got it there. And oh well, big deal. Okay, I want to talk about Jeremiah Love. He's a running back. Of course, there's a lot of buzz that he's going to be one of the top picks in the draft. And of course, can we bring Martin on? Has Martin got his clothes on, and is he dressed today? Can we bring Martin on, because of course he's a Notre Dame freaky fan. I'm surprised you don't have a Notre. What hat is that today?
Just a typical blue hat, nothing
Oh,
special.
it's your blue hat. Oh, it's
Yeah, it's just a navy blue color.
Wait, what is today?
22nd.
Okay. Anyways, all right, never mind. So there's there's kind of some, I don't know if it's concern, because Jeremiah Love's a tremendous talent. Like, he's one of the top potential picks in the draft, and it's an era in football where the value of a running back isn't necessarily that high, and so it's kind of tricky. You know, it's like, you know, does he slide a little bit because the teams just go, yeah, I don't know if we really want to, or do they just go, we don't care. You know, we just want this player. And from my perspective, and kind of where I'm coming from, the you take the best talent, right? And you figure out, you know, how to, you know, you just you can't teach talent. You know, you just either have it, you know, or you don't. And you want to have it, and you'll figure out a way how to utilize that talent. You know, I think the Eagles figured out how to use it with Saquon. I think in other situations, Alvin Kamara was utilized by New Orleans in a different way. You know, and the running back position is not dead in the NFL like it appeared to be, and it's also, you know, it's just utilized in a different way. And because there's a lot of great running backs in the NFL who are being very productive. A running back was, I believe, the MVP of the Super Bowl we just had, and you know, and so it's not dead. But what are all your inside sources at Notre Dame telling us about Jeremiah Love and where he fits tomorrow? And is he going to slide a little bit, or is he going to get picked super high?
I think it depends on the team. There's rumors going around that Arizona's trying to trade out of 3, which I don't understand why they're doing that. I mean, they need any player and every player they can get right now. I mean, this is that type of mess down in Arizona. But they don't have a terrible running back room, so I don't see a reason for them to take Jeremiah Love at 3. I think they have more needs offensive line wise, defensive line wise, secondary wise. I think those are needs that they need to discover more. Right behind them would be Tennessee, and I think Tennessee is interesting. You have Robert Sala. You obviously have Cam Ward there at the quarterback position, and pairing up a young running back with a young quarterback is always a fun and dynamic duo that seems to work. So to me, Tennessee seems like the team that he should go to, just because having two young dynamic players makes total sense, especially with the offense that are going to be playing in this season. I forget his name. He's the new offense coordinator of Tennessee. It'll come back to me. But the point is, it just depends on which teams looks at Jeremiah Love. He's a phenomenal talent. Watching him at Notre Dame back-to-back years of over 1,100 yards. Last season, it was about 1,200 yards. The season prior to that was about 1,500 yards. But he was taken out of most second halves. Starjarian Price, who's also in this draft, was the consistent running back in the second half, just because there were games where Jeremiah Love wasn't needed anymore because Notre Dame was blowing out the competition. So it was a shared running back room in Notre Dame, and Jardarian did his job right, but Jeremiah Love was the beast. I mean, we saw that in the Penn State game. He dragged 3 defenders into the end zone on his own back. So to me, 4 feels like where he should go. 5 is a stretch for me with the Giants. I think the Giants should focus defensively. But after that, I don't see another team necessarily, probably until the beginning of the second round, that's going to be looking at a running back necessarily immediately. Maybe Pittsburgh, but I don't see them doing that. So either 3 or 4, I feel like, is where Jeremiah Love's going to have to go. But I think if I had to pick one of those 2 spots, I say Tennessee makes all the sense to me.
So hard because there are some great defenders, and there's like game-changing defenders in this draft. The Giants, some people have Jeremiah at the Giants, and maybe they're going, okay, we screwed up on Saquon, and we're not going to screw up here. It almost feels like Jeremiah Love is one of those players who could slide just a little bit, and someone's going to get him, and they're going to go, and he's going to be phenomenal, and they're going to go, why did you guys pass on this guy? But it feels like defense. There's some great edge rushers in the draft, and it's just going to be hard for some of these teams to figure out those guys. So it's going to be interesting, whatever happens with the draft. Of course, we're going to talk about that when we return. It's like, what the heck do you do if you're a player the eve of the NFL draft or draft day? Lot of things going on. We'll talk about that and so much more when the Down and Dirty returns.
Hi, my name is Mike Lacey. I'm with Beyond the Game, a new podcast to the Rogue Media Network. Just when you thought you'd had a little bit too much about BYU, here we are to provide you even a little bit more. I, as part of the BYU group, am grateful that we're part of the Big 12 and really grateful that we're part of the Rogue Media Network. Thank you.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Are you looking for top-shelf sports talk about the West Virginia Mountaineers, where you can get objective analysis, but with the passion of a fan? Well, look no further than right here at Couz's Corner. I am Justin Couz Walker, the host of Couz's Corner, and you can find my show on demand over at YouTube. Most shows are uploaded by 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also check out my live post-game reaction shows. My special guest interviews, you can find it all on YouTube at Couz's Corner. Go check it out.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back down to Dirty. Scott Mitchell. So glad you could be a part of our day today. We are happy to have you. The NFL draft is right around the corner. That's an exciting time. Really, it's a nervous time. It's a crazy time. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of like buzz. There's potential trades. There's potential all kinds of stuff going on. There's disinformation. It's a nervous time. And when you're a player and you're about to embark on this journey, I always find it fascinating, like, what do you do as a player? Like, and especially like Fernando Mendoza, he really made this left turn, this 180, this, something that's going, if you're the first pick in the draft, it's one of those rites of passage. It's one of those almost expected NFL type of, you show up, you do the jersey, all the things, you kiss the ring, you hug the king, all that stuff with a commissioner. And it's a moment. It's a big moment, because it's like you are the kind of the face of this year's draft. You will be forever. Everyone goes, so and so was drafted number 1 this year or that year or whatever. And of course, it's like, does that player live up to the hype of being that player, or do they, or do they not? And so I think it's an interesting saga that we have, the NFL draft. It's become an event. It's a big deal, but players deal with it differently, and they just go, I want to be there. I want, and then it's like, well, but there's the potential that if you are there, you get Aaron Rodgered, right? You end up like stuck there, and you're kind of sitting at a table and you're all by yourself, and it gets really awkward, and it gets really kind of dramatic, and it gets really, it's kind of a sad thing. And then you have other people who, just go, F this. Like, I'm not going to the draft. I'm going to go off. I'm going to go hang out with my buddies. I'm going to go to the movie. I'm going to go, play golf. I'm going to go just completely get my mind away from things. I'm just going to do something that, and they'll let me know, hey, they'll call me wherever I'm going, whatever team, I'm fine. I'm whatever, type of thing. And, Fernando Mendoza, then he goes, no, I'm not going to go to the draft. I'm not going to run away from the draft. I'm just going to hang out at home with all the people and all my people. and of course, there's always the comment, of, are those really your people, or are they just your people because you're getting drafted? And it's like how to kind of sift through who's really my people and who really isn't. So here's what I did. And it wasn't really there wasn't people didn't go to the draft. I knew who was going to be drafted number 1 in my draft year way before, it's like, they've had years where they go, is it Peyton Manning or is it Ryan Leaf? Which one of these two is it? Isn't it kind of thing? And then people are like, well, it doesn't matter. They're both going to be great, phenomenal. And they weren't. But so everyone knew number 1, right? And they knew that my draft year, Jeff George. In fact, when we had the combine, they had a special combine that year. It was the first year of juniors, 1990, came out in the draft in mass. So it was just, the draft was flooded with a lot of juniors, and then the regular draft class. And of course, Jeff George had he had a private workout, like a pro day today, but so he had a private workout. It was the only time he was going to work out. And they said, hey, just drop back and throw the ball as far as you can. And they threw it 80 yards, and immediately everyone goes, he's the first pick in the draft. Like that was just it, And I was on an airplane coming back from the draft with the the player personnel director for the Denver Broncos. We were sitting together on this flight, and he told me this story. He was the one who told me the story. And he goes, yeah, he goes, Jeff George will be the first quarterback picked in the draft. And we know that. And of course they had John Elway at the time, whatever. So that's kind of how it goes. And so, I knew that going into the draft. So the first guy, went to the draft. Now it's like a whole group of guys get invited to the draft, and you've seen some really awkward situations happen. I remember my year, they had television crews. So everyone had a party, right? You invited all your people, and, and you had this party, which is what I did. So I'm sitting there at this party with my family, and I'm watching the draft, and Mark Spindler, and Mark and I were actually we were the same draft year. We actually ended up being teammates in Detroit. Funny stories about Mark Spindler that weren't football related, and I'm not going to get into today, but he was projected to be an early pick. Like, a lot of people thought, oh man, Spindler's going to, first rounder, whatever. And so his dad had a bar in Pittsburgh, and he's hanging out at the bar, and they got video cameras there, kind of watching the Spindler experience in the draft. And he just kept sliding. I think he ended up going in the third round to Detroit. And it just a horrible day. And my day was very similar to that. It was just not a fun day. It was not a fun day. And what made it harder for me was that I had been told by people, and when you say who told you, it was like NFL people. They go, oh, you'll be no later than the second round. Like, you there's a chance you'll go late in the first round, but no later in the second round. That's where you're going to get drafted. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, great. This is fun. This is exciting. And then people were calling me during the draft in the first round, the teams that were likely to pick me in that position. And so I ended up not going in the first round, and so we're watching it, and my whole family's there. It's still exciting. And then we go through the second round, and nothing happens. And they're like, gosh, it's got to be somewhere, some team somewhere has got to do it. But the whole process and every pick that comes up, and when I can't say every pick, because there's some picks you just go, the Denver Broncos aren't taking a quarterback. At the time, the San Francisco 49ers are not taking a quarterback. It's just, there's just, so it wasn't every team, but it was a lot of teams. You go, this could be this team. And then they call and they go, hey, well, look, we're drafting here. We're coming up, in a pick or two. How do you feel about being a New England Patriot? How do you feel about being a New York Jet? How do you feel? And really, I felt great. Like, I was like, any one of these teams. Now, at the time, none of them were great. They weren't doing very well. The Patriots weren't really doing very well. The Jet, all of these teams. And where I really thought I was going to go was to the Washington Redskins, who are now the Commanders. And because I actually visited with them a lot. And I thought I thought that would, and they ended up picking Kerry Conklin in the third round. So I'm just like, whoa, okay. And it was just really, it was a horrible day for me. It's a day that I still don't like to this day. And it's just merely because what it is everyone has a chance to pick you. So there were 30 teams at the time. There's 32 now. So 30 teams had a chance to pick me in the draft, and none of them did. And then they had a chance again, and they didn't do it. And then they had a chance again, and they didn't do it. And so you start to begin, because you always think you can play. You think you belong there. And then all of a sudden the reality is, it says, we don't think so. We don't think you're that good. And you're just like, oh. And it becomes this reality check of things, and so you start to question everything. You start to go, maybe I'm not very good. I don't know. Oh, well, let me, okay. And so that becomes a problem, right? And so then, and then here's what happens. Like, the reality of the draft is, it ultimately doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. What matters is that you have your opportunity, and that's it. That's the only thing that matters. And and all they care about is, can you help us win? Do you belong here? And we really don't care. This is about, kind of establishing, where you are in your readiness to play in the NFL today. Um, but it's also, a player might go, we've got this player, we got him in the third, fourth, fifth round, and is he better than the players we have now? Is it an upgrade? Maybe he's not a Hall of Famer, maybe he's not a Pro Bowler, but is he an upgrade from actually the players that we have right now? And part of the upgrade is, maybe some of these guys are getting older, and so younger, fresher legs, maybe there's a bigger upside to this. And so there's always this question of, it's not necessarily the superstar, it's just, is it better? And so you go into it and you go, I have an opportunity here. Some guys don't. Some guys go in and they just go, I'm not going to make the team. And the funny thing for me is I never thought at any moment after I was drafted that I wasn't going to make the team. Like, I just didn't think that way. But what I thought was, okay, it's your opportunity. So we make a lot about the draft. Where's this guy going to go? What round is who's first and all of these things. And it's like, okay, fine. You all picked your teams. We all know that there are guys that don't ever work out. We know that at every position, every draft slot, every round, there's a significant number of players that don't make it every year. But what it is it's just your opportunity. So you have to really get it out of your head. They didn't like me. They didn't pick me in the first round. They didn't pick me whenever. And you really have to get a hold of a whole new mindset. And so the draft is it's one day, it's one moment, and it's really, and then it's over. And then when it really matters, what's really important happens. You're now with a team. Like, there's no it's like, and I am with a team. That's the other side of it. It's like, you did get drafted. Now, a lot of guys will tell you who are free agents, they go, I kind of liked it because I could pick where I was. And what else are they going to say? But they did have teams to pick, and they did go to teams. And a lot of teams like free agents, and they find a lot of good players in free agency. And it's also part of, hey, if we can pick up a lot of good players and they're on the cheap, it certainly helps us manage the salary cap. And it helps us to have where we have fewer holes in our team, or, no holes or whatever. If we can find this, balance of good players at an affordable price, and then the other side of it where we're putting a lot of money into this. And so the smart teams, the good teams, the ones that actually succeed are the ones that are really good at this. But all that really matters with this really is all that matters is you now have your opportunity, and then you decide what you do with it. And so you get a guy like Puka Nacua, you get some of these late round draft choices, you get Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, and he's like, he didn't care. And that's where you have to get. You care. It stinks when you get drafted because you always think you should have gotten drafted better or higher or to a better team or whatever. And now you just go, I got my shot. I got my opportunity. Most guys don't have the luxury of saying, sorry, I'm not going to play for you. I mean, there's really like one guy in the draft that can do that. That's number one. And everyone else is like, they're not going to go, no, don't draft me here. Don't do that. No, we're not doing that kind of thing. So yeah, it can really be, it can be a tough day. And I don't care what guys do. You go to the draft, you don't even want to care about the draft. You have a part, whatever, doesn't matter. It all matters after that time. All right. What matters now is we're going to take a break. When we come back though, we are going to talk about, oh boy, speaking about opportunities, Justin Fields said, I wanted to go to the Chiefs and I wanted to learn from Patrick Mahomes. And there's something to be said about that. And we'll talk about that and so much more when the old Down and Dirty returns in just a minute.
If you want a Boston sports show that's going to insult you as a fan and only cares about getting back at their old hosts or who Bill Belichick is dating, then keep tuning your radio. But if you want a sports show that's wicked good, wicked smart, wicked passionate, then you need the Wicked Boston Show with me, Cam Stewart. It is the only Boston sports talk show that is by the fans and for the fans. One voice in this city where the only BS is Boston sports. The Wicked Boston Show.
You probably get unwanted emails almost every single day.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
Hey, sports fans, welcome on in, Down and Dirty. Yes, I'm Scott Mitchell, your host. So glad that you could join us and be a part of your day. We get after it here on the Down and Dirty. We talk sports from the perspective of someone who's been there, done that, and we try to find the real things that are going on, the down and dirty part of sports. And it's not meant in like, I don't know, whatever way you think of it. The kids these days, they all kind of think it's something sexualized, and it's not, man. It's just getting to the meat and potatoes, the real take on things, and that's what we love to do. We're passionate about sports, and they're our life, and so we love to talk about it. Okay, so we're gonna start this hour off with this was an interesting story from Justin Fields, who of course was a well thought of quarterback at Ohio State, kind of comes into the NFL and just doesn't quite make it. Then he goes to the Jets, and that was not a good experience. So now he's going to the Kansas City Chiefs, and you a lot of people say, well, first of all, Justin Fields just said, "Look, I really want to learn to play. And I want to pick Patrick Mahomes' brain." It's kind of nice that you have the luxury of just saying, who's really good right now, and I want to learn from them. That's a cool thing to do. I think it's also a very humbling thing to do, and an extremely smart thing to do. Now, whether Justin Fields actually did this or wanted to do this, or if it was just kind of his only hope, or if it was a thing where it's like, yeah, we'll take you, we'll work with you. We can certainly do that type of thing. It's not a bad spot to be in with Patrick Mahomes, simply because Patrick Mahomes coming back from an injury. He may not be ready for a while. You may be thrust into a situation a lot sooner than you think, and you just go, oh boy, yeah, let's I didn't know I was going to be the starter. I didn't know that Patrick Mahomes would be asking me questions. How do I learn from you, kind of thing. And that's a possibility. It's always a possibility. But the other side of this is like, when you're a player like Justin Fields, and there's a lot of expectation, you come in the NFL and you're a high draft choice and all this stuff, and it doesn't work out, and quarterback situations are just so hard to work out, and they're hard to work out because you're a defensive back, and you just have athleticism and you have skill, and you can plug that into pretty much every defense, right? And maybe it's like, yeah, I'm really more comfortable being a press man corner. Like I that's where, and other guys go, yeah, I'm really like outside leverage. I like to play off. I like to play zone. I feel, maybe that's the difference between the two. And it, it's a subtle difference, whatever. Some guys go, I'm really good as a slot corner. which is a tough that playing the slot is a tough position to be in. And so but it's pretty general across the board. Whereas playing quarterback, there's so many different systems and styles, and there really are. And there's different philosophies. You have I'll get real traditional here. You have Al Davis, man, he just wanted to chuck the ball deep all the time. It's like drop back 7 steps and 20 yards deep to throw a 20-yard comeback, or throw the ball big posts over the middle, or or go routes on the outside to Cliff Branch. And so it's like stretch the field, really, really let them have it. And then you have the West Coast offense that says, well, we're going to throw the ball like you would run it, so it's all ball control. It's all, it's different, it's intricate, and so there's just different philosophies. And quarterbacks are not like DBs. Like, quarterbacks come in all shapes, sizes, and all kinds of things. And some of them have the ability to throw the ball down the field, and other guys don't, but they have great instincts, and they can run that that controlled offense and run it like massively efficient. So like Steve Young was not this throw the ball down the field kind of guy. I mean, they threw the ball down the field to an extent, but it wasn't a lot of deep drops to hold the ball in the pocket. A lot of it's precision, get the ball out quick, get it to people, let them make their move kind of thing. And so which is a really good example. And but the point is that they work, right? So so Justin Fields says, I want to go and learn. And what happens is you get the stigma put on you as a player. Like it's like, bust, or can't really play, can't really, can't this, that, whatever, type of thing. So, and they put that, that label on you, and then you kind of have to live with it. First round bust, but, has potential. Typically a first rounder is very happy about, like, they're happy about, a lot of people like him. Like they just, a lot of people go, if you're a first rounder, most teams think that, even if they don't draft you. And so that's why a lot of these guys get second and third, fourth chances, because that's kind of where Justin Field is. He started out with the Bears, then he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jets. Now he's with the Chiefs. And that's kind of, a lot of people call it or at least I don't know if a lot of people, but I do. It's kind of that walk of shame. It's just, you're walking your way right out of the NFL. You're just going from city to city to city. You're never going to stick, and to these guys that stick, the Sam Darnolds and some of these Geno Smith guys, and who have weathered the storm. Alex Smith was a really good example of that. But Alex Smith also went to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think Justin Fields goes, I want to learn from Patrick Mahomes, but it's like, I want to be in a system like Andy Reid's. And Andy Reid is, has made a, I don't know that every quarterback has been great in Andy Reid as the backup guy. There was some success with Michael Vick, when he was at Pittsburgh, he's in Philadelphia. He's had some backups that were pretty decent for him in Kansas City. I'm not sure Gardner Minshew was maybe that guy, but he's had some guys. So this will be a fascinating thing to have happen. Of course, when Alex Smith came to Kansas City, it was like, hey, we're getting to got to the AFC Championship game in Kansas City. And I'll bet that if Alex Smith stays at Kansas City, if they don't not win a Super Bowl when he was there, of course along comes Patrick Mahomes, and they just fell in love with Patrick Mahomes, and so off they go. So I personally, I kind of like Justin Fields that he's made this decision. I do think it's so much about being in the right system for a quarterback. I don't know actually what system is right for Justin Fields. Like, I'm not sure. I don't know. Part of it, and it, and I don't know why I feel like I'm alone in this. I don't think I'm alone. I just don't think people talk about it much. But it seems like Justin Fields to me just seems like he doesn't have a real good sense of the game. Like his timing is a little his anticipation is not as crisp, it's not as decisive, it's not as consistent as some of these other players, and that's just what it's kind of always felt like to me. Now here's the challenge with that, and maybe it's not that he's not incapable, but you kind of get like that when you're in a system that's new. Now, you go through the OTAs, you go through training camp, there's a lot of practice time. There's a lot of you practice it, you install it and practice it, you walk through it, and you intellectually know it. Like, okay, I know what my reads are. Like, I know what this play is, I know what it's designed to do, and I know what the reads are. Kind of. Like, I know maybe the first or second options, like, or the first option, like, and then what happens is you get in practice, and the first option's there, and you do it again, and the first option's there again, and you never get to number 2, and then you get in a game, and all of a sudden the defense reacts a certain way, and it's like, now I got to go to number 2, and now I got to go to number 3, and so you know it intellectually, but you really haven't had the practice or the experience with it to just go, boom, 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 no, 1, no, 2, boom, 3, all right, and you're just and you just know it, like, you know it in game speed, and it takes time. It takes years of, I witnessed Dan Marino in year 8 in that system, and he'd been in the same system with the same guys essentially for 8 seasons. And so for me, I'm seeing it for the first time. Like, this is like I'm talking another language here. And then you start practicing it, and you don't get a lot of practice reps, by the way. So Justin Fields, like, he ain't gonna get a lot of practice reps with Patrick Mahomes around. And then, so it takes some time, but so Justin Fields is in a system for a couple years with Chicago, and he starts to feel it a little bit, and but not a lot, and there's always this pressure, and new coaches and people don't have the patience with it to really let a young quarterback develop and learn and understand. And so then off he goes to a new situation, and what you do, you're Justin Fields, you go, man, I'm gonna show you guys how I can really play here in Pittsburgh, and he plays, and it's just like, yeah, it's not with a, like, a deep, confident understanding of a system that he's in. And then you go to the Jets, and just forget the Jets. It's like, Boomer Esiason said about Zach Wilson, unless every single week Zach Wilson throws 4 touchdowns and 350 yards a game, no one's gonna, like, he has no chance here. And it's like nobody has a chance there, and it's just so idiotic, like, it's just dumb, and it's why people don't get this and understand it. So, Justin Fields now, what he has accumulation of experience over 4 different teams. So now he can start drawing on, oh yeah, this concept is like that one. It's named differently. Maybe part of it's named the same, but I now have experience knowing that I can go to read number 3 because I've been in that situation. So even though it's a new system, it's not learning these concepts for the first time, a lot of them. And so you're just like, yeah, okay. I can handle that. I like that. We'll go with that. We'll figure that out. So it it's probably the best situation Justin Fields can get into, the one that he's in now. There are things that are called quarterback friendly systems. Andy Reid understand, and because they understand how this development process, they understand what a quarterback has to think and how to disseminate information when they get an opportunity to execute and to play. Like, they know, like, and that's the other side of it for some of these players. Like, Justin Field could be in an offense or a system, and he's being coached by a guy who doesn't even know that system all that great. Or the people like the wide receivers, or they have a coach that's, maybe limited in his ability, and the only coach that's really any good is the coordinator. So you have all these assistant coaches who are, kind of going off of what the coordinator does and says and thinks and feels. And are they really, getting the most out of and these players? And so it can be a really, really tough situation for someone like Justin Fields to get into and to be a part of. But if there's a system, if there's a coach, if there's a quarterback you want to be in, there's not a better place than the Kansas City Chiefs. So he's in a good spot. Fun story. We'll see what happens. All right. When we come back, I guess I get to play. Am I playing GM for the day with some of these new or I guess situations going on with some of these teams in the draft? So that'll be fun. We'll do that and so much more when the Down and Dirty returns shortly.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of The Matt Mosley Show. We want you to watch our show every day, 1 to 3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you get to see big name guests like Gary Patterson, Art Briles, Scott Drew, Doug McNamee, major Cowboys insiders, ESPN legends like Sal Palantonio. When news breaks on Cowboys or Baylor or NFL, we want you to look here first. 1 to 3 weekdays. It's the Matt Mosley Show.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Hey, it's Zach Gelb. We're talking NFL and college football. Plus, we have some of the biggest interviews in sports media. You got to check out the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports, weekdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/@ZachGelbShow.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell. So glad you could join us, be a part of us. Of course, the NFL draft is coming up very soon, like as in tomorrow soon. And I'm sure some teams are like, we're feeling pretty good about things. Other teams sweating bullets. Here's the thing. Got all these people that are uber competitive, right? And they all want to get their guy. They want to get the guy. They want to get someone they get real excited about, plug into their system, and the guy's a game changer, and fans get all excited, blah, blah, blah. It's that one player that puts them over the edge. So a lot of nervous energy, a lot of nervous excitement, a lot of gamesmanship going on as well. So Martin is going to let me play the GM for the day. He's going to give me the scenario of what's going to go on in the draft, and I get to make a decision. So I get to see if I really totally screw this up or if it's like, hey, you know what? There might be a future in this for you. So Martin, take it away. Let's see what we got.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna ask you, what would you do in the first round if you were the GM of these teams? We're gonna start with the number one team in the draft, the Las Vegas Raiders. Scott, new coach, Kirk Cousins in town. They made major changes in free agency. Tyler Linderbaum they went after, Devin Lloyd they went after. Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean. They were aggressive in spending money and trying to turn this team around. What would you do in the first round if you were the Raiders?
What would you do in the first round?
What would you do in the first pick?
Here, everyone says, well, you're going to pick Fernando Mendoza, right? And Fernando Mendoza is being sold to people as this great leader. as this guy that, just has done remarkable things. I don't think people go superior arm talent, superior athleticism, superior this, but he's a gamer. He's a lot of people say Andrew Luckish, where, he understands the game. His brains, his intellect are going to take him a long way in both being a leader on the team and also being a player who can execute at a high level on the team. Tom Brady wasn't the best prospect from a physical perspective, but he was, off the charts from an intellectual, and that's why Tom Brady got drafted where he was. And so all of a sudden, Fernando Mendoza wins a national championship. He's a Heisman Trophy winner, and he goes to the head of the class. And it feels a little bit like it may be the most brilliant move in the world. And everyone goes, oh yeah, that was absolutely. And they also could go, man, Tim Tebow was really good in college, but he wasn't in the pro, So I guess in my brain, I'm like, I'm taking a huge gamble here, I think. And a lot of people don't, but I think there's a bit of a gamble with Fernando Mendoza, but I'm going to take him. So if I'm the Raiders, I'm taking Fernando Mendoza.
All right, Fernando Mendoza. I like that. I like that decisiveness right there. You might be good at this GM role here. All right, Scott, let's talk about one of your former teams here, the Detroit Lions. They traded David Montgomery in the offseason. They had a few offensive line issues, went through 3 centers, a few guards. They just couldn't stay healthy up front. And their DB room always gets hurt. Their corners always get hurt. A safety gets hurt. What would you do if you were the Detroit Lions in the first round?
Well, it's a challenge because for me, everything in every team centers around the quarterback. It's quarterback league. It's like, and so your quarterback does very well when he has a good offensive line, he has a good running game, and everything in Detroit is kind of played off of that. And so, whatever I do, in this situation, it feels like the O-line's, O-line might be the need for the Lions. And, now I think the Lions, where did the Lions pick in the draft? They're down a little bit, right? But I mean,
I think they're like 16 or 17 or something like that.
Yeah, they're like 17. And of course, everyone expects him to pick, at 17, you're going to pick an offensive tackle. I mean, that's what you're going to do. That's what I would do. Again, going back to the quarterback situation, you got to shore up that offensive line. They feel like the running back situation will be, I don't think it's a downgrade from what they have, even though they traded a guy. Yeah, Jared Goff, that offense, those wide receivers move when they can run the football, and they got to have offensive linemen to do it.
All right, Scott, picking at where did I leave off here? I know I'm like doing some
Giants.
There we go. Sorry. So they're picking 5 and 10 here, Scott. I know. I apologize about that. I'm all over the place here. What would you do with them 2 picks? New coach, traded Dexter Lawrence away. Malik Neighbors won't be back until November because of a torn ACL. So what would you do if you were the New York Giants here? You have 5 and 10. You have the luxury of 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, and it's huge. And I wonder if they made this pick because of how the draft is, that they, if we get the 5 pick, then because I think that's the pick they got, right? They got whoever
5 of their own, and then 10 from Cincinnati.
Okay, so 10 was Cincinnati, so 5 was theirs. But I think they entertain because Dexter Lawrence is a great player, and I don't think you just want to give him up. And I think they said, look, we're going to get a game-changing player on the defensive line for us, no matter who it is. And it's, one of 3 or 4 guys, that are there, and they're going to be there, right? Just simply because Fernando Mendoza is picking one. So we're going to get, and we're happy with any of them, right? Like, if we could get one of these guys, now they may have a guy that they go, oh, we really like this guy. So they're gonna get that defensive player, at 5 that they really want. And maybe, I mean, so the question is, because there's a lot of really good defensive players in this draft, and so do we still go with defense? Do we really do we we and I'm going to go back to the quarterback situation, and the quarterback situation is with the Giants. I think they're bullish on the quarterback that they have, but John Harbaugh through his time has had great defenses in Baltimore, and they may get super stingy and just go, yeah. We feel that we're better offensively through being a great defense, and that we can stay in games, as our young quarterback kind of grows and develops. And so I could see the Giants going, now we're gonna go total defense here, and maybe pick up another defensive player, because there are certainly guys out there that could be had, and then there's other a mindset that goes, look, you you got to give this quarterback some weapons, because he's going to end up getting hurt, and he's going to end up getting hurt because he doesn't have guys to throw to, so he's just running around trying to make stuff happen. And so there's you really kind of get your cake and get to eat it too. You get your defensive player, but you also can turn around and get get that offensive guy as well. And again, there's some great wide receivers in the draft. There's going to be a very good wide receiver at 10. I don't know exactly who it's going to be at this point, but there's certainly guys out there that can be difference makers and be a team. So if I have a quarterback with the mindset of, you because the mindset, if you have a great defense, is you've got to be really patient. Like, don't give up the game. Don't and so that's taking away a little bit of maybe who Jackson Dart is. And if you give him more offensive players, then maybe you minimize his ability to get injured, because you got to keep that guy on the field, but you want him to still be aggressive, and he has more people to throw to, more options. He's less likely to run. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to get the defensive guy first, and then I'm going to go get me some offensive weapon that can help out Jackson Dart.
All right, I like that. A little bit of a split, 1-2. I like it, offense and defense. All right, Scott. Number 12 in this draft is the Dallas Cowboys. They have some defensive issues, no serious pass rusher. We know why. No linebacker depth, and DBs got burned all last season. They gave up some of the most yardage in NFL history. It's written all over the board, but what would you do if you were Jerry Jones? Are you going after a questionable pass rusher, or do you kind of try to keep it safe with a DB?
I mean, there still might be a guy available at that point. A good edge guy. They've got to shore up the defense. I think Jerry Jones, in keeping with his dramatic lifestyle, just does some boneheaded thing, and drafts a tight end, or just does something, just like, it's who knows, just something that they certainly. And of course, maybe they do need a tight end, but I don't think they do. But yeah, it's I think they're pretty set offensive. I said I shouldn't say pretty set. They've certainly spent a lot of money. The Cowboys are going to look for something defensively. They could get an edge, right? Reuben Bain, because of he could still be available at that spot, and I think that would look. I'm about production. I know great defensive linemen come in all shapes and sizes, and if you find one that just has that motor, it's really hard to pass up on.
All right, Scott, picking at number 26, the Buffalo Bills. Going into this season, they picked up a decent wide receiver in DJ Moore, but he's not a big-time wide receiver as he was maybe 5 years ago. The Bills are still lacking some offensive power. They also need some defensive help. Where would you go in this draft to help out Josh Allen?
It's hard. It's hard. They've always tried to kind of say, okay, because it's hard when you pick late to get a really good impactful player early, when you're the Bills, and it's like the Bills are kind of getting close to being that team that's like Pittsburgh. They're good enough not to be bad, but not great enough to be, or not good enough to be great. and they're, it's very close to that. It's always felt like two things: an elite guy that who's a wide receiver to really help Josh Allen, or that one defensive impact player, and they thought they might have gotten it in Von Miller, but he was kind of past his prime. And so the way that they have to go get this, because they pick so late, is they got to go get someone in free agency, or they got to go trade for someone, or they, somehow, some way. And when you're a team where you're just so close, like you are with the Bills, you're really looking for someone who can just, not necessarily fill in, but someone who can just kind of, that impact player that can put you over the edge. So if you can find, that edge rusher, someone late, and again, there's a lot of good ones in this draft. I mean, and early, and there's a lot of really good players in this draft, and you just might, a guy might fall to you, and you just go, thank you, whatever. But it's got to be an edge rusher, or it's some type of impact wide receiver. You can always find great wide receivers in the draft, and that should be a huge, focus for the Buffalo Bills. All right, so
Yeah.
next you have you got the Chicago Bears. Wow, the Bears are they are they're a team that feel like you're on the verge of things, but the Bears lost a lot in free agency, in the DB room. They lost one of their linebackers, a wide receiver, and their center. And that's a lot, and you really hope you can kind of, so for me with the Bears, it's really, it's like you have a nucleus, you have a quarterback that you really starting to feel good about. And it's really, to me, if I'm the Bears, it's the absolute best possible player that I can find in the draft when I'm picking. That's what I do if I'm the Bears. And so I don't know. So I can't, because there's places everywhere that you could have a need. And so you want to get the most impactful player that you possibly can, picking where you are as the Bears. And I've been on teams in my career where you were a good team. And so you got players picked, later, like one year in Detroit, the Lions had the choice between Ty Law, who was a cornerback who ended up being a Hall of Famer, and Luther Ellis, who was from Utah. And so they picked Luther, and Luther is a great guy, great player, and Ty Law was a great player and a Hall of Famer. And it's like you can't almost go wrong with one of those players, but you got to pick one. And maybe Ty might have been a better selection for the Lions, but who knows? You never know. So that's kind of where I see the Bears. It's just, who is that best possible player? Because you're a team that you're going to be competitive, you're going to compete, and if you just have a player that can make you better somewhere, it'll go far for you as a team. Whereas, you're starting from scratch and you really need those foundational players. The Bears are close to having those players on their roster.
All right, Scott, at the Cleveland Browns here, they got pick number 6 and pick number 24, another team with 2 picks in this upcoming draft. Todd Monken, the new coach, they have questions at quarterback. They need some help in the old line room. Where would you try to go if you're the new offensive head coach? He's offensive minded too, so he's going to be calling plays.
I'm not sure that you go O-line. If it's like we're not going to solve the quarterback question this year. We don't want to solve the quarter. We don't want to do that. We have a whole bunch of guys, and we're going to figure out one with all of what we have. But if we, there's a lot of good offensive linemen, and with where the Browns are picking in the draft, then you certainly, I think that at 6 you're going to get the top rated offensive tackle or the next one, and either one is really good. And I seriously, I might go O-line in this draft if I'm Cleveland.
I like that. Go big with the big guys up front. I
Well,
like
it's
that.
kind
All
of one of
right.
those things where, if you can find a way to solidify yourself somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And you just go, we have this solved for, especially if you can do it through the draft early, because you're going to have those players for, 5 years or so on rookie contracts, and you're going to get a lot of miles out of them at a bargain price. And if you really can, and then you go, okay, well, now let's go find this, let's solve this piece down the road, which is a quarterback piece, and we're not going to solve it today, but you get a good offensive line, and it's again that foundational thing that can really help when you get the right quarterback in place. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I'd go.
I like that idea right there. Spencer Fano might be perfect for Cleveland. A team that Spencer Fano could be drafted by is the Kansas City Chiefs. They need O-line help. Pass rusher is a need for sure on this team. Possibly a new tight end, maybe. They don't really have a star wide receiver, Scott. I mean, Rashid Rice is a nice guy, but he gets in trouble too much. What would you do if you're the Kansas City Chiefs here and Andy Reid? Where would you try to target?
Yeah, so again, it's a lot like the Bears, it's like there's a lot of needs, and it's like, just give me the best possible player at any one of these positions, and that's who I'm going to take. And so it's hard to say, let's go O-line, or let's go, it's just like, if O-line is the best possible player when it's our turn to pick, great. If there's if you know I you know the, if there's a way to move up just a little bit, if you're just really in love with someone, and you like, and that someone you in love with might be a wide receiver, someone who can, or a pass rusher. If one of those pass rushers, because there's 4 or 5 of them in that first round, and I think you could, and if someone's still lurking, and you want to just kind of bump up a couple of spots to get a player like whatever the best possible player is when we pick, unless it's someone that's like, one of those impact type of players, like one of those pass rushers, you might be willing to jump up to get a guy like that.
All right, Scott, let's talk about another team that drafted you, the Miami Dolphins. Now, obviously, I said in our notes here, they need everything, okay? There's not a
Yeah.
specific category, but they need everything. Now, here's my better question for you is, if you were the GM, would you try to target a franchise defensive player or a franchise offensive player with this first round pick? What side of the ball are you going to try to get started up again?
Well, there's the foundational positions. So left tackle, edge rusher, quarterback, lockdown corner. Those are kind of, your 4 or 5, like, and you're not going to get, maybe the corners there. I mean, I don't know if you're going to get them at 11. But there's a good chance to get an offensive lineman at 11. There's a good chance to get an edge rusher, and to me, those parts are interchangeable. I wouldn't say I'd probably go that direction. Again, because these teams, they sometimes what happens is you go, people fall in love with the edge rushers. We go, oh, they're going fast. Well, we better get one, because and then what happens is it pushes down other positions like offensive tackle, or some of these others, which there's some good offensive tackles in this, and Spencer Fano is one of those from Utah, and he might be that guy right there. But it's one of those two positions to me. Yes, they need everything, but boy, I think you can get a foundational piece, an impactful player at either that edge rusher or offensive tackle for the Dolphins. So that's where I go.
All right, final team here, Scott. The Houston Texans. You definitely need some O line help. They traded for a running back, but they have no one to back up David Montgomery. And they could use another wide receiver. Again, just pick a spot on the offensive side of the ball to fix on. But what should the Texans do in their pick?
Yeah, and the Texans, they're going to be later in the draft. If you can get, again, let's go back to the quarterback. You got to protect the quarterback. You got to give him weapons. So it's either an offensive lineman, or it's a wide receiver. And if there's guys available at that spot, that's who I'm picking. But you get later in the first round, and you start to question yourself: is that guy really a first rounder? Is that, so maybe it might still be, it might, and they're a very defensive minded team. I wouldn't be surprised if we picked another defensive player. But if you just get a little production out of your quarterback, you're a Super Bowl contending team in Houston. Somehow, some way they figure that out offensively, get more firepower there some way, and you could be right in the thick of things. All right, that's going to do it for that. That's kind of fun. I enjoyed doing that. We've got, I guess, Martin has a question for me to wrap up the show when the Down and Dirty returns.
Hi, my name is Mike Lacey. I'm with Beyond the Game, a new podcast to the Rogue Media Network. Just when you thought you'd had a little bit too much about BYU, here we are to provide you even a little bit more. I, as part of the BYU group, am grateful that we're part of the Big 12 and really grateful that we're part of the Rogue Media Network. Thank you.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Are you looking for top shelf sports talk about the West Virginia Mountaineers, where you can get objective analysis, but with the passion of a fan? Well, look no further than right here at Couz's Corner. I am Justin Couz Walker, the host of Couz's Corner, and you can find my show on demand over at YouTube. Most shows are uploaded by 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also check out my live post-game reaction shows. My special guest interviews, you can find it all on YouTube at Couz's Corner. Go check it out.
Hey, it's the Down and Dirty. Welcome back to the show. So glad you could join us. Of course, from time to time, Martin has questions for me, and I like to answer those questions. So, Martin, fire away. What do you got in your little brain today?
Yeah, I got a big one here, Scott. So my argument behind it is that this group is the most dominant group when it comes to MVP voting in the 21st century. Okay. They've dominated the majority of the MVP voting. Okay. Considering that, Scott, should the NFL exclude quarterbacks from the MVP voting? Now, hear me out. Okay. Here's my case for it is that for the last 5 seasons, 3 of the 4 finalists for an MVP have all been quarterbacks. Majority of these spots are just quarterbacks, period, in the story. They dominate the majority of all the news. They're the big-time ones to throw 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards, right? Tom Brady with 4, Peyton Manning with 4, Aaron Rodgers with 4. So the rarity of a special player like an Adrian Peterson or a Sean Alexander or or Chris Johnson, CJ2K, takes a 2,000-yard rushing season, Saquon Barkley, right, in order to break out and be an MVP caliber player. We've seen it with other running backs and wide receivers have cases, but they can never win that award unless it's superfluous. Like it's, a 2,000-yard rushing season or a wide receiver cracking 2,000 yards or over 20 touchdowns in a season. So I think NFL quarterbacks should just be excluded from MVP and allow running backs and wide receivers. And if there's a defensive player out there, an edge rusher that has 18, 19, 20 sacks, an opportunity at the MVP award, because quarterbacks just dominated every single season. There's no room to break out when a number one position in the sport is just dominating every single time.
I have a solution for you. Okay. And it's a very good point. It's a valid point with the MVP situation. And the league is geared towards quarterbacks. and the quarterbacks typically the most popular players in the league. There's no question about that. And I don't think that's ever going to change. I don't think it should change. I don't think it's a bad thing. But I think where you could really go a long way for highlighting and kind of accentuating some of these other positions that are extremely valuable is that you change the whole dynamic of postseason awards. And I because I thought your question was going to be about taking quarterbacks out of the salary cap and just putting them in their own category. But it's not like an open book. You can just pay a quarterback anything you want. It's like it's got to be within a range, but just take quarterbacks out of the salary cap and still keep the salary cap as it is. And then you can do a tiered system for quarterbacks, whatever, and they'll still get paid, like they should be paid. But more people, you're going to have better teams, and you're going to have better quality all around with the team play. If you can put better players, a more complete team on your roster, I think it would be good. And I think what you'll see is a lot more veteran players playing longer, staying with teams longer. You stay with the team longer. You get more familiar with the systems. You play better. So I think it's a very healthy and good thing for the league in general. But what I would do is just say, why don't you just have the most valuable player by position? So there's not one just across the league, and that's it. Because it's predominantly going to go to a quarterback. It just is. So you just do it by position, and so if you're the most valuable quarterback in the NFL, and I think that's what people want anyways. It's like I want to be recognized by my peers as being the best. Now I know they probably have awards and they're trying to do this, so everyone feels good. We talked earlier about the clutch NBA player of the year, which is a weird award. But if you just had, here's our MVP selections. Now they do an all pro team and it's something like that, but where it's like every position has a most valuable player. It's recognized by the league, and it's kind of that emphasis on each position, I think would go a long way. So that's where I would go with it. And not necessarily, well, we'll just exclude quarterbacks and it's like, well, no, we'll have them in their own category and everyone else in their own category. And because I like that. And because there's a lot of other positions that maybe don't get the recognition, maybe don't get what they really truly deserve because of their impact on the game. And it gets a little short-sighted, it gets lost in the story of quarterbacks. So there you go. Share the wealth. Let everyone be an MVP. That's my answer. You all are MVPs for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a part of our show today. Thanks, Martin, Zach. This has been the Down and Dirty Scott Mitchell. Until then, we'll see you then.